We thought that when Yellow went under, that freight would spill over to us, but it didn't. It got absorbed by these massive internal fleets. The silent takeover is the shippers becoming the carriers. So where does that leave the spot market? Where does that leave the load boards? If the prime cut freight, the consistent, high-paying, dedicated lanes is being moved by private fleets, what is left for us? The leftovers, the scraps, the trash freight. We are seeing a market now where the load boards are filled with the freight that the private fleets didn't want. They know you are desperate. They know the private fleets have taken the cream off the top, so they offer you pennies. And sadly, people are taking it because some money feels better than no money. In my last video, we talked about the collapse of mega carriers. We watched giants like Yellow and Convoy fall, and we saw thousands of trucks disappear from the road. The logical conclusion, the thing that everyone told you was going to happen, was that when the capacity left the market, rates were supposed to go up. It's simple supply and demand, right? If there are fewer trucks, the remaining trucks should be eaten. But look around you. Look at the load boards. Look at your settlement sheets. If the giants are gone, why is the freight still cheap? Why is it still a struggle to find a decent load? I'm going to tell you why. Because freight didn't disappear. It just moved. And it didn't move to you. It moved to a competitor that you aren't even looking at. We spend so much time worrying about other owner-operators and so much time looking at mega carriers that we missed the silent takeover that's happening right behind our back. Now, in this video, I'm going to talk about the rise of private fleets. We're talking about why the biggest retailers in the world decided they don't need us anymore. And more importantly, we're going to talk about what you need to do right now to survive in a market where your biggest competitor isn't another trucking company, but the customer themselves. So let's get into it. Let's set the stage. For the last 18 months, we have been hearing one phrase over and over again: Freight Recession. You hear it on the news, you hear it at the truck stops. There is no freight. Volumes are down. But I want you to look deeper. If you look at the actual economic numbers, consumer spending hasn't crashed due to zero. People are still buying groceries, people are still buying clothes, construction sites are still building. So if the goods are being bought, they have to be moved. If you aren't moving them, then who is? Here's the hard truth that nobody wants to admit. We are in a freight recession. We are in a for-hire recession. There is a huge difference. A freight recession means nobody is shipping anything. A for-hire recession means they are shipping things, just not with us. See, back in 2020 and 2021, during the pandemic boom, shippers got burnt. Big companies like Walmart, Home Depot, and Lowe's, they were relying on outside carriers. They were relying on guys like us. And what happened? Rates went through the roof. Capacity was tight. They couldn't get their goods on the shelves fast enough. And if there's one thing a billion-dollar company hates, it is losing control. They hate being at the mercy of the spot market. They hate not knowing if a truck is going to show up. So in the boardrooms of these massive companies, they made a decision. They said, never again. They decided to insulate themselves from the market. They decided to build their own navy. And that is what we are seeing right now in the late 2025. Let's look at the data. While for-hire carriers, that's us, the independent owner-operators and small fleets, have been bleeding cash, private fleets have been on a shopping spree. I'm talking about retailers and manufacturers buying their own trucks and hiring their own drivers. According to the latest industry reports, private fleets have captured more market share in the last 2 years than in the previous decade combined. Think about that. Every time a retailer buys a truck, that is one less load that hits the load board. That is one less opportunity for you to bid on. And it's not just about them hauling their own stuff. This is the scary part. This is the part that should wake you up. These private fleets, they are getting so big that they aren't just hauling their own freight anymore, they are entering the for-hire market. That's right. When a Walmart truck or a Pepsi truck drops off a load, they don't want to drive back empty. So what do? They hop on a load board. They pick up a backhaul. And here's the kicker. They don't need to make a profit on that load. Let me repeat that, because it is crucial you understand the economics here. You operate a trucking company. You need to make a profit on every mile to pay your bills, to pay your mortgage, and to put food on the table. If the load pays $1.50 and your cost is $1.60, you go broke. But the private fleet, their profit comes from selling the groceries or the furniture. The trucking side is just a cost center. So if they can pick up a backhaul for $1 a mile just to cover the fuel, they are happy. They don't care about the rate. They just want to offset a little bit of costs. But what does that do to the market? It destroys the floor. It drags the rates down for everyone else. Because how can you compete with a company that is willing to haul freight at a loss? You can't. Not on price. And this is why the mega carrier collapse didn't save us. We thought that when Yellow went under, that freight would spill over to us. But it didn't. It got absorbed by these massive internal fleets. The silent takeover is the shippers becoming the carriers. So where does that leave the spot market? Where does that leave the load boards? If the prime cut freight, the consistent, high-paying, dedicated lanes is being moved by private fleets, what is left for us? The leftovers, the scraps, the trash freight. We are seeing a market now where the load boards are filled with the freight that the private fleets didn't want. The freight that is too heavy, the freight that goes to difficult locations, the freight with terrible appointment times, the freight that requires specialized handling but doesn't pay for it. That is what the spot market has become. It's a graveyard of rejected loads. And because there are still too many trucks chasing these scraps, the brokers know they can squeeze. They know you are desperate. They know the private fleets have taken the cream off the top, so they offer you pennies. And sadly, people are taking it because some money feels better than no money. But that is a slow death. That is what we call circling the drain. You are running your truck into the ground, putting miles on your engine, wearing out your tires for revenue that doesn't even cover your replacement costs. This is the reality of the 2026 market structure. It is not a cycle that will just bounce back naturally. This is a structural change. The big retailers have changed the game board. They have built a moat around their freight, and they aren't going to tear it down just because we want them to. Now, I know this sounds grim. I know this sounds heavy, but you know me. I don't bring you problems without bringing you the mindset to solve them. You see, I study business philosophy. I study the greats. And one thing that Jim Rohn has always said stuck with me. He said, you cannot change the seasons, but you can change yourself. We cannot change the fact that private fleets are growing. We cannot change the fact that the economy has shifted. You can scream at the wind all you want. You can complain on Facebook. You can blame the brokers, but the winter is still going to come. The question is not, why is this happening? The question is, what am I going to do about it? See, most people in this industry are wishful thinkers. They are wishing for 2021 rates to come back. They are wishing for the easy money. But as Charlie Munger would say, invert, always invert. Look at the problem backwards. If the easy general freight is gone, if the dock-to-dock game is rigged against you, then you must stop playing that game. You have to go where the private fleets cannot go. You have to go where the robots and the merge systems struggle. You have to find the friction. So what is the strategy? How do we survive the silent takeover? We have to understand the weakness of the giant. Private fleets are efficient, but they are rigid. They run on strict schedules. They run on high volume. They don't like complexity. They don't like last minute changes. They don't like white glove service. That is your opening. If you are in a box truck, if you are a small fleet owner, your competitive advantage is not price. It never will be again. Your competitive advantage is agility. Your competitive advantage is service. Here's what that looks like practically. Number one, the last yard problem. Private fleets, they are great at getting goods to the store. They are terrible at getting goods to the job site. They are terrible at residential delivery. They are terrible at navigating tight urban centers. This is where the box truck shines. Construction materials to the exact spot on the site, medical equipment into the hospital suite, event logistics where the delivery has to happen at 2 a.m. on a Sunday. Walmart's fleet isn't doing that. Amazon fleet isn't doing that with the level of care required. That is your lane. Number two, the emergency valve. Even the best private fleets fail. Trucks break down, demand spikes unexpectedly, drivers call out sick. When their systems break, they panic. And when they panic, prices doesn't matter. Speed matters. You need to be the emergency valve. But you can't be the emergency valve if they don't know you exist. This goes back to what I said in the last video about relationships. You cannot rely on the load board to find these opportunities. The load board is planned for stuff that nobody wants. The emergency stuff that happens over the phone, that happens because a dispatch manager has your number saved as the guy who gets it done. You need to be building relationships with the local distribution managers, not the corporate headquarters, the local guys. The guys on the dock who have a headache right now. Go to them and say, I know you have your corporate trucks, but when they fail, call me. You are selling insurance. You are selling a peace of mind. Number three, specialized niches. If you are still hauling general dry van freight, pallets of water, pallets of toilet paper, you are fighting a losing war. You need to get specialized. Hazmat, refrigerated, oversized, high-value electronics, things that require extra insurance, things that require extra training. The private fleets want the easy stuff. Leave the easy stuff to them. Take the hard stuff, because the hard stuff pays. Jim Rohn said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. This market is demanding that you get better. It is demanding that you become a better business person, not just a steering wheel holder. Let's wrap this up. The era of showing up, turning the key, and making six figures is over. The silent takeover has cleaned out the tourists. It has cleaned out the people who treated this like a passive income stream. But it hasn't killed the industry. Trucking will always be the backbone of the country, but the spine is changing shape. The future belongs to the lean. The future belongs to the specialized. The future belongs to the owner-operators who treat their truck like a business, not a job. So here's my challenge to you. Stop looking at the load board and getting depressed. Stop looking at the private fleets with envy. And start looking at your own operation. Ask yourself, what can I do that Walmart can't? What problem can I solve that Amazon ignores? Find that problem, solve it aggressively, and charge a premium for it. That is how you survive the takeover. That is how you build a dynasty in the down market. If you found value in this breakdown, and if you want to know more about how to structure your business to handle these specialized contracts, do me a favor. Smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, turn on post notifications, and leave a comment below. I'm not folding. Let me know you are still in the fight. And if you're trying to get in the final mile, grab my final mile contract plug pack. The link is in the description below. Also, check out the next video on the screen below where I talk about how to scale from 1 truck to 5 trucks without going broke. You'll learn about building systems, when to add trucks, and how much cash flow you need per truck. I'll see you on the next one. Let's get to work.